Good morning, business finance. We're on our way continuing on project 2. Let's take a look. Our next thing is this finding financial information, and I advise you to go ahead and download the Word doc. Right? You can click on that, download, that'll open it up, and it's going to look like this. And this gives you what I want you to do. Okay, and what I want you to find, and I'm going to demonstrate that as well, show you places to go, things to do. It's actually some of the sites, I don't find them as easy to work with as they once were, so it might make your guys' job a little bit more difficult, but I'll show you how to do it, and it's stuff that we've gone over, and you should be able to do it without any problems. So here we go. The finding financial information, ultimately what you're going to do is write a report or paper about a particular business that's publicly traded. You guys have submitted those businesses. I've given you some feedback. I think one or two of you even might have changed your minds based on my feedback, and that's fine. And again, I kind of wanted you to keep something that was pretty focused, because it's a little easier to work with. And rather than doing something like Berkshire Hathaway or General Electric, which are huge conglomerates, right? So your assignment's going to be based on the company that you chose. Report the sales trend for the past 3 years, and we'll go down here. So where do you find that info? Well, I think the best place is this site called FINRA. Okay, and I used to like this site a little bit better, but it's changed a little bit, but it's something we can work with. So if you click the down arrow and then you hit view topic, it's going to open up something that looks like this. Okay, and you can go to FINRA itself, and you got to go through a bunch of different clicks to get to this page, but this is ultimately where you want to be. And if you come, you see we're dealing with equities and options, and we're going to be dealing with equities. Okay, and equity is a publicly traded company, and it's the common stock in that publicly traded company. So you know your ticker symbol, so enter that. Now I'm going to use a company called WD-40. Most of you have heard that. Nobody selected that. Let's take a look at it. It's just kind of an old-fashioned company. Guess what? They make really kind of one thing. They do sell it two different ways to the consumer. The one that you and I are all familiar with, that blue and yellow can, I think, with the red top on it. But they also do industrial sales, too, of their lubricants. And I imagine probably make more lubricants besides the WD-40 that you and I are familiar with. So, again, this is at that FINRA site. And we look at WD-40, and it kind of brings this stuff up. And you can see this along here. This is important, okay? And what we're going to be interested in, of course, is the financials. So just click on that, okay? And that takes you down to here, and it shows you some stuff, but, maybe not as much as we'd like to see. And so what I'd like you to do then is, if you click this, we're gonna need information from the income statement and from the balance sheet. I don't think at this time we'll need it from the cash flow. Might be something that you would look at before your final paper, but we're gonna need information from the income statement and the balance sheet. So if we look at the income statement, now if we click on that, because I'm on income statement here, it expands that. Okay? It gives us the basics income stuff here for the past 3 years. Yeah, but we want a little more than that. We want a little bit more detailed. So 2017, 2018, where's 2020 and 2021? Yeah, we got to kind of scroll down. Sorry, I had to scroll down. Scooch this on over. And then it brings it up through, in their case, 2021. Now, WD-40's year end, they've got a different year end. You've got to be mindful of that. Your company may have that. And their year end, I think, is June 30th, if I'm not mistaken. So their 2021 results are in, because it would have ended 9 months ago almost. The TTM, so stands for trailing 12 months. So It's kind of been updated. This is what they did through June 30th, and then if you take the trailing 12 months, which probably through the end of the year, just kind of gives you a little update on what they're doing. For many of you that have where the company that you're doing has just a typical year end, December 31st, this is probably going to be pretty irrelevant. It's probably going to be the same as the 2021, where their year end is different. We got different numbers here. And we can sure take a look at those. They may have some interesting stuff in it that we kind of want to pay attention to. But for the most part, we'll be using these numbers. I found this, and this is where they changed it. This used to be a far more usable format, I think, and I found this to be a little bit difficult to work with. And so what I did is I just clicked on this export data, and that will open up as long as you got Excel, and you all should because we've been using that, right? So it'll just open up a spreadsheet then in Excel with this same data that I find to be a little bit more usable. Okay? I know that just looks like a ton of numbers and it's a little bit complicated, but you could make it a little bigger if you wanted to, and it might work out. Okay. It does look a little busy, but nevertheless the numbers in here are pretty good. We could change the look of it. We could make these a little bit wider, the rows a little bit wider, or deeper, or taller, or whatever it is. Okay, if we wanted to, wouldn't necessarily have to. I want to, though, this trailing 12 months for what I'm doing for this particular assignment, I think it's going to kind of get in the way. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I can come up, get that little arrow, I can right click on that, I can hide that column. Okay, I may want that later. I can come then and I can go that and I can unhide it. Okay, but for now I just want to get that one. Sorry. I'll hit escape and get out of there because I made a goof up. I'm just going to hide that column for now. Okay, let's go back to the assignment now. So it says, report the sales trend for the past 3 years and calculate the annual growth. So I'm on the income statement. That's what this is. Okay. And I want to do the sales trend, which is total revenue. Okay, total revenue is equivalent to sales. Well, their sales have gone from 423 million, basically to 488 million. So I could put that as part of my answer, but then I also said to report the growth rate, and I want an annual growth rate. Well, we've done rates, right? So I'll click on this over here, just an empty square. It wouldn't have to be there, or an empty cell. And I click on my little formula thing, and I want to calculate rate, right? Okay. So my number of periods, well, I got 3 years. I got a present value, and I'm going to enter that in as a negative, right? So is that first year, I don't have a payment, and then I got a future value is this past year. And it shows up as from that to that is equal to that. I've got 4.86%. Now, mine, I think because I did this earlier, it's already in a percentage. Okay. You might want to change it to a percentage, but that's fine. Even if it's a decimal, if you put it in as your answer. So my answer is the sales trend has been from 423,350,000 to 488,109,000 in annual growth rate of 4.86%. Done with question 1. Question 2, report the earnings per share trend for the past 3 years and calculate the annual growth rate. Okay, earnings per share, I got to scroll down, and they call it EPS. Okay, and they have a basic EPS and a diluted EPS. The proper way probably to report this is just tell me which one you're using. You can see it's very little difference in the two. Okay, and so I don't really care which one you use. What is the difference? What's the difference between basic and diluted? Diluted takes into account also like stock options and some of those things that companies grant to their generally senior executives. and so that tends to lower the earnings per share a little bit. In some companies, it's a little bit more because they have big things. So their earnings per share is in the last 3 years from 403 to 511. And once again, what is the growth rate then? Well, I got rate, I got 3 periods, I got a present value of, I'll move this, all right, it's 403. Oops, but I should make that a negative, right? And my future value then is 511. And my answer is 8%. I want to get a couple decimals, so 8.8, almost 8.25%. Pretty good growth, better than the growth rate of the revenue. So what are they doing? Well, they must be controlling their expenses a little bit or something. Kind of giving you some hints of some things that you might actually show up in your paper, right? Yeah, why? Well, the revenue didn't grow at the same rate as earnings per share, so their cost of goods sold came down, which is an expense, or their operating expenses came down a little bit, or both a little bit. Okay. Report the most recent ROE and ROA. This one's going to be a little bit easier. If we come back to our FINRA site, okay, I think if we come down and we just keep going, oh, look at that. ROA stands for return on assets, and ROE stands for return on equity. Again, make sure you get out here to the end. This gives us some 5 years. The index, I think, is what its comparable companies would be. But I want last year. Isn't that what my question asks for? The most recent ROE and the most recent ROA. So if you actually reported the trailing 12 months, that would not be inaccurate. Okay, and so that could be okay. But if you give me the last year, that's fine. Again, identify it. If you're giving me the trailing 12 months, say, hey, it's 16.08 TTM. Good. Okay. But in our case, the return on assets for 2021 is 17.65%, and the return on equity is 38.79%. That's really wonderful. Think about that. If you put $1 or $100 with WD-40, that's your investment in it, and their return to you is at 38.79%. It's actually pretty damn good. Okay, so we come back then, and now we're done with the first 4 questions. But it asks, what has the gross profit trend? What has been the gross profit trend for the last 5 years? I got to go back now to my worksheet. And what's gross profit? Oh, top line. I highlighted it. Yours isn't going to show up highlighted. I highlighted mine because just to make it a little bit easier and a little bit more obvious. And so my gross profit's gone from 232 to 263 million, okay, and change. What I'd like you to do is, though, I'm going to put in an extra row here because I want to calculate what my gross profit percentage is. That doesn't tell me a lot. Okay, that's just a raw dollar number. Yeah, it's gone up, but it doesn't tell me a lot. But here's what tells me a lot is my gross profit as a percentage. This is what the old site used to have. You could just toggle it and it would tell you, but they don't have that anymore. So what is gross profit? Well, that's my the gross margin is what I'm looking for here. And my gross margin is my gross profit divided by my revenue. That's all there is to it. Okay. So if I want to calculate that, I can just put this is equal to this divided by this. Okay. Gives me that. Earlier I couldn't get this to work quite right. Yeah, for whatever reason it wouldn't. Or if I do it there. No. For whatever reason, it wouldn't do it on that one like it usually does, but if I came here, it did it. Great. So my gross margin, or my percentage, is 56.21. So out of every dollar of sales, they profit, on a gross profit, that's before operating expenses, at 56.21. That's kind of an important number. Well, now I want to see what it's done, It's actually gone down a little bit through the years, right? It's gone down a little bit more than 2 percentage points, okay? And so that's a bit concerning. Remember what I said, though, their earnings per share has gone up faster than this, so all of a sudden I think that their operating expenses are probably where they're saving some money. Again, just some hints. Okay, so now what's the gross profit trend been for the last 5 years? Gross profit, in this case, we don't really need to calculate it, okay? But gross profit's gone from about 214 million to about 263 million, but the gross margin has decreased from about 56% to a little more than 56% to right at 54%. Okay, so we've seen a decrease in that gross margin, which is kind of important. What's been the operating expense trend for the last 5 years? Now here is again where I say I think it might be important. If I come down, in this case, operating income or expense, and they're all negative, so these are my expenses, I think they've probably seen some improvement here. And again, this might be kind of cool to, I'm going to right click over here, I didn't show you that earlier, and insert a row. And I want to see what my operating expenses are, again, as related to my total revenue, and see what's been going on there. Because this is a negative number and I want my answer to be positive, instead of hitting an equal, I'm going to start with a minus, and it's just this, then my operating expenses divided by my total revenue. So it's 36%. That percent thing's still not going to work that way, but it works here. 36.26%. Yeah, I can just grab that and drag it. My guess is I should see some improvement. A little bit. Okay, went from 36 to, in this case, you wanted the number to go down, right? I want my operating expenses to be a little bit less, okay, as compared to my revenue. Okay, so that's a good thing. They've obviously saved a little money in some other places, and we'll probably have to see that. It might be right down here in the income taxes. So remember, we had a big income tax decrease a while back, so okay, under the prior administration. So I've got now those 6 questions answered. Has the company's long-term debt, this is the second one, has the company's long-term debt, if any, increased or decreased over the last 5 years, and by how much? So I just want you to take a look at their debt. Oops, let's go back to here. Okay, I gotta scroll back up then and look at balance sheet. Now it's going to change, so I need to look at the balance sheet. And if I come down here, it's expanded it for me. I'm going to do this, but because I got to get over here to see the, here again, I want the last 5 years, and this isn't all that good because I'd have to scroll back and forth. So I downloaded it, I hit the export data, I got another spreadsheet, and it says up here it's the balance sheet. Then it gives me 2017 through 2021, and if I come down, I'm looking for long-term liabilities, right? Which another term for that would be total non-current liabilities. Okay, and so their non-current liability, boy, they took a huge dip there. Paid some off, then it looks like they borrowed back a little bit more. Okay, and it would be okay to report that as my trend, that, wow, I started in 2017, yeah, at 154, almost 155 million. I'm currently at 144 million, so overall a decrease, but kind of had a huge drop off here. Okay, and my guess is, they probably had some short-term liabilities or something that kind of offset that a little bit. We'd have to take a little better look at it, a little deeper look, which we're going to do as we go along. Although look at that, they had a big drop off in their total liabilities. So I may lie for whatever reason, and then they went back in and borrowed a little bit more money. So that's going to be interesting. That'd be something I would want to look at for WD-40 for my final paper. So have I answered all the questions? Has companies, okay, there's how much, so it's decreased by about 10 million actually over that period of time. Then the last question is, examine the company's most recent annual report and tell me what it does in the words of management. It's okay to copy and paste much of this. Just make sure you cite your source, and that should be the annual report. I want to tell you right now, another name for an annual report is a 10-K, 10K. Okay, and I tell you that because we're going to go take a look. I'm going to show you a kind of an easy way. This is FINRA, and I like FINRA. Okay, I'm gonna go back and, okay, another site, and I used to use it a lot, but they've become even kind of less valuable, I think, in terms of this particular assignment. But Morningstar, and I just want to come to this Morningstar. I don't need to go to their ad thing. The Morningstar.com. It's kind of interesting. The data for each of these sites, you can tell, actually comes from the same place. Of course, you bring up the ad, and I just got to scroll to get that gone. And then I come up here for this deal, and my WDFC, my ticker symbol for WD-40. Oh, down almost $6 today. I think the market's down again today overall. So the only thing I want to show you here is this. So if I click on financials, it's an easy way to find the 10K. I've given you some other ideas in this document about how to find the 10K or the annual report. Okay. But here's one easy way. Now, if you look here, it says view 10K, view 10K, view 10K. So I could get the 10Ks for these last 3 years, boom, just by clicking on this. Okay. I click on it. It's actually takes a little bit for it to bring it up, but it did, and so I'm just going to take you to it. This is what it looks like. United States SEC Form 10K, kind of mumble jumble up here. You don't need to pay a whole lot of attention to it, but you scroll down and you get to their table of contents. Awesome. Now I know, okay, I can read through quickly, see where I need to go. And what did I ask for? Tell me what it does in the words of management. You can copy and paste that. So let me show you. This will be very consistent for just about everybody's, I shouldn't say that, it should be consistent for everybody's 10K. The item number 1, business. Guess what? Overview of the business. Okay. WD-40 Company is a global marketing dedicated to selling products that solve problems, and boom. I could copy and paste that if I wanted to add a little bit more. I could do the second paragraph, right? However much you think you need. Okay, I just want the basics. What I really want I want to know that you opened up the annual report and took a look at it. Okay, because this is ultimately these annual reports, and you probably want all 3 of them. It's going to be where you get a lot of your information for your final paper. Okay, and so I kind of want to get you just kind of looking at that. Maybe look through the table of contents so you know what you're looking at, and have an idea. You'll see here we get to selected financial data and some things like that that are going to be the stuff that we use ultimately for doing your paper. So take a look at it. It's pretty cool. The only reason I don't like this one so much is that it comes up in just a regular, I guess, HTML, and I kind of like it if you can get it in a PDF, because then you can save it right to your computer. You can look at it no matter where you're at. You don't have to have the internet. You can save it on a PDF. It doesn't take up a lot of room. I go through here other ways that you could find that. Okay, and so you could read that. One way might be this, and I think I had it here on the FINRA one. Let me just scroll all the way down. Not quite all the way down, but pretty close. And it tells the company profile. And then if you come over here, contact, there's investor relations. That'd be if you want to send them an email, obviously. But here's the website for the company. If I click on that, and most of yours will be similar, okay? Not all of them will be the same. It certainly takes some looking for some of them, but I want to go to investors, investor overview, financial information. That might be kind of cool. I wonder if that might have the annual reports. It could be investor resources as well, but we'll click on the financial information. Again, all of these might be a little bit different. SEC filings, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I want to get 2021. All forms, nope, I just want their annual filing. Looky there, and I can get it in PDF, RTF, Excel. Okay, so I can get it in a bunch of different formats, and if I was to do it, okay, I'd want to get it in this PDF. And gosh, while I'm here, I'd go ahead and get the 2021 because I may want to look at that, and I'd get the 2019 one because I'd want to look at that. And I'd go all the way back to, holy cow, before you guys were all born. Okay, so WD-40 makes it real easy, and some of yours will be just as easy. Some will be a little bit more complicated. If you have any problems, just send me a note. We'll find it. I promise you we can find it, but it takes a little bit of looking. So that should be it for that assignment. I know I've talked quite a while, but I want you guys to get into that a little bit. I think I'll change the due date on it because I got this out a little bit later than I should have. Change the due date on it and give you guys a little bit more time. Probably make it due this weekend instead of on Thursday. So here you go.